If you're a first-time buyer or a wannabe first-time buyer, I want to talk to you about the single most important factor which will affect what rate of mortgage you can get. I'm Martin Lewis from moneysavingexpert.com, and this is my quick briefing on LTVs. LTV stands for loan to value, and that is absolutely crucial. Now, yes, your creditworthiness affects what mortgage you can get, and yes, your affordability score affects it. But for the actual mortgage rate, it's all about LTV. What is loan to value? Well, it's what portion of your home's current value, and house prices can change, are you borrowing? I'll make it very simple. You got a £10,000 deposit, you're buying a £100,000 house, therefore you're borrowing £90,000 on £100,000, you have a 90% LTV, a 90% loan to value. Yes, I know you can talk about it in deposit terms, but that's not how the mortgage industry does it. It talks about it in LTV terms. Clearly, the lower your LTV, the smaller loan compared to your house price, the better the mortgage rate, down to about 60% LTV. Below that, it doesn't tend to get that much cheaper. Now, what actually happens in the market, and this varies all the time, so you need to go and play on a mortgage best buy comparison, and we've got one on moneysavingexpert.com, and do different figures, is the mortgage rates can drop roughly every 5% of LTV. But there are some crucial thresholds where they may drop more. It does vary with time. So 95% down to 90%, 90% down to 80%, 80% down to 75%, and 75% down to 60% may well have even bigger gaps than the others. So why am I telling you this? What does this mean for you in practice? Well, let's do a simple worked example. Sound like I'm in school, but it'll help. So you are buying a house for £150,000 and you've saved up a 14 grand deposit. Well, that sounds pretty good. You've got your deposit in place. 14 grand is just over 9%. Because it isn't 10%, that means you don't have a 90% LTV. You have a 95% LTV. Yeah, you're way past 95, but you still only have a 95% LTV, which means you'll be getting a mortgage rate for people in the 95% LTV category. If you could push and find an extra £1,000 deposit and you get yourself to £15,000, now you're in the 90% category. Now, these are made up and it will change over time. But for example, at a 95% LTV, let's say the mortgage rate is 5%, but at a 90% LTV, the mortgage rate is 4.5%, which on a £150,000 home would be a £40 to £50 a month difference in the amount that you're paying, £500 to £600 a year difference in the amount that you're paying. So just pushing that little bit more to get you to the next threshold can save you quite a lot of money on your mortgage repayments. Now, I'm going to get slightly more technical here, but there's just an extra tip on the end I want to add on. I've probably done enough already. But I'm saying go to the next threshold. Actually, what I've heard anecdotally from lots of mortgage brokers, who are always very helpful if you're going to get a mortgage, by the way, it's worth finding yourself a good mortgage broker to help talk you through it, as well as listening to this, is if you push £100 beyond the threshold, that can ease acceptance. It won't change your rate, but it can mean you're more likely to be accepted, because when mortgage underwriters, the people who are deciding whether you're going to get a mortgage or not, look at this, if you're exactly on the threshold, they're going, ooh, they're a little bit on the brink, they're probably pushing it a little bit much. But if you're just beyond the threshold, they look and go, oh yeah, that seems to work pretty well. We might just give them a mortgage. I hope this is useful to you. There's a lot more mortgage information, including a first-time buyer's full free mortgage booklet available on moneysavingexpert.com.